Research professor and best-selling author Brene Brown explores in her book, Rising Strong: How to Recover After a Fall Emotionally, Professionally, or Spiritually. Brown provides a powerful framework for recovering from failure and setbacks, based on years of research on vulnerability, courage, shame, and empathy. Rising Strong addresses the topic of how to deal with heartbreak, disappointment, or professional ruin. What can we do to transform our struggles into sources of growth, resilience, and integrity? The answer lies in what Brown calls the Rising Strong process, a three-step path. The reckoning, the rumble, and the revolution. Part 1. The physics of vulnerability. Brown begins with an essential truth that if we are brave enough, often enough, we will fall. Vulnerability is not a weakness, but the birthplace of courage and creativity. The risk of love, leadership, or innovation is inevitably accompanied by failures and losses. As a metaphor, Brown uses emotional physics. As with gravity, there are emotional laws. When we engage in daring, the possibility of falling arises. Without vulnerability, there can be no courage, and there can be no rise without falling. Failure is an inevitable part of living a courageous life. Learning how to rise is more important than avoiding falling. The reckoning. Walking into our story. In the Rising Strong process, the first step is the reckoning, which is becoming aware of our emotions and facing them with curiosity rather than denial. According to Brown, emotional literacy is the ability to name and recognize our feelings. It is common for people to numb or offload their emotions, but those who rise strong choose to engage with their emotions and listen to what they have to say. She introduces the concept of shitty first drafts, which are the narratives we make up in moments of fear or pain. These narratives are usually false or exaggerated, but can dominate our internal dialogue. Practices of the reckoning are pay attention to bodily responses and emotional cues. Ask yourself, what am I feeling and why? Accept that your story is incomplete and may be based on assumptions. The rumble is owning our story. Rising Strong is centered around the rumble. It involves deconstructing our own stories, confronting shame, and seeking the truth. By rumbling with our emotions, Brown means interrogating the beliefs, fears, and assumptions that shape our narratives. During this phase, we ask hard questions. What do I believe about myself? What story am I telling about others? What is the truth beneath this reaction? The rumble also involves grappling with core vulnerabilities, which are fear of not being enough, fear of rejection, and fear of being unworthy of love. Brown emphasizes the power of curiosity, integrity, and empathy in this process. She encourages us to identify our shitty first drafts and rewrite the story using facts, not fears. This requires spiritual and emotional resilience, especially when confronting issues like privilege, failure, or betrayal. The revolution is writing a new ending. Once we have reckoned with our emotions and rumbled with our stories, we are ready for the revolution, which is the transformative moment when we change how we engage with the world and ourselves. It is not just about personal growth, but about systemic change as well. We create ripples of courage and healing when we live from our values and act from integrity. Brown emphasizes the importance of practicing wholehearted living and living with compassion, connection, and courage. This is the moment when we write a new ending to our story. The one that is founded on truth, driven by values, and inspired by growth. Key elements of the revolution are rewriting old scripts of shame and fear, living according to values such as honesty, empathy, and courage, extending grace to ourselves and others. Let us talk about how you can use this in your daily life. First, relationship. When conflict arises in relationships, we often resort to blaming or retreating. During Rising Strong, we learn to pause, become curious about our emotional reactions, and wrestle with our assumptions before confronting others. As a result, communication becomes more honest, respectful, and empathic. Second work. Professional settings are inevitably filled with failures and criticisms. Strong leaders acknowledge their mistakes, own their stories, and create cultures of accountability and learning rather than shame and fear. The advice Brown gives to leaders is to model vulnerability, reward risk-taking, and create psychological safety. Third, with ourselves. Learning to give ourselves grace is one of Brown's most powerful messages. To rise strong, it is essential to have self-compassion. Rising strong requires us to be our own advocates and allies. In conclusion, rising strong is a powerful guide for anyone who has struggled with failure, shame, or emotional pain, which is to say, all of us. In Brown's book, we are challenged to walk into our pain, challenge our false narratives, and emerge stronger and more whole. The rising strong process